Hello, 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 and welcome to this analysis of the Summoner Wars League. We're looking at Season 4, Match 1 here, Fallen Kingdom versus Phoenix Elves. My name is Ryan Ciabatta, aka Ciabatta, and we'll be going over the overall stats briefly before taking a look at my two games against Mr. JJ77. Now, what we have right here is the stats for Fallen Kingdom versus Phoenix Elves. We can see a slight advantage for the Phoenix Elves, 32 games to 28. But interestingly enough, the Fallen Kingdom have a lead in the top divisions. They were 50-50 in Division 1 and then had a slight 5-3 edge in Division 2. In Division 5, which happens to have really strong players right now, the Fallen Kingdom also have a lead, 3-1 in these games. All right, while I'm here, let's record Airstone's comments for posterity, as I think they have a lot of interesting things to say. And I do agree with their analysis that this is an unbalanced matchup. And also, while we're here in posterity, I want to give a huge shout out to my opponent, Mr. JJ77. They had the chance to time me out in one of the two games because I had a lot of life, busy work going on, and I wasn't able to get to the games in time. But I sent them a message and they graciously paused on their turn until I was able to respond. And that shows the level of sportsmanship that I just want to, give them a shout out for. All right, without any further ado, let's go to our first of two games. The way I'm going to do this series is the first game I show will always be the game that ends quicker chronologically. So usually be the one with the shorter turns. And this was a pretty quick game, or at least it felt like that to me. All right, let's hit play. You can see I started off, the archer taking a shot, the guardian moving up and getting Moldaria right here. And let's actually pause here as I roll the dice. And we can see Moldaria line this attack up so that we could use Call Protection and get some protection while still getting that dice to take out the very threatening cultist at the start. Now, you can think, what would you want to do here? Would you want to pick the Guardian and use that for Call Protection, or you want to pick the Archer and use it for Call Protection? Or would you want to use neither and save this? I don't think that's a very good move, but we're going to see as you make your decision, and then see what I did. I chose to save the Archer, and I think that was a huge, huge mistake. You see, in most matchups, that would be fine. I'm getting this Guardian here away from my wall, so I'm controlling more space. That was my logic. The Archer is there lined up to take a shot at the gate, to flank. And Moldaria, my summoning spots aren't too important here. I just wanted to control this left side and take control of the stage. But the Fallen Kingdom have a unique power to be able to bust through these defenses in a way that otherwise a deck might not be able to do. I would think that even if this Archer would die, its presence would keep an attack from happening on Moldaria, but Mr. JJ77 takes advantage in their turn. They summon a Cultist, an Archer, and a Carrier. I was looking at both a Cultist and an Archer as a way to get through this, and they end up using both. Purge takes effect. Let me dismiss that. Purge takes effect, completely clearing out the Archer and moving the other one in. And they use that to do some damage on Moldaria even before attacking with the Cultist. And the Cultist lands their hit before this Carrier attacks here, and it does fine. It gets 2 damage. Before I do that summoning spot, we can see that on this turn, Mr. JJ77 has already taken Moldaria down from 9 health to 4 health. A massive swing in a matchup where assassination is everything. Not only were they able to capitalize by removing the Cultist and attacking where he was, but they were also able to use a Purge to get rid of the Cultist and get rid of Moldaria, doing 2 damage and getting an Archer to attack Moldaria and doing 3 attack. So this is a very, very bad situation to be in. It also it kind of skipped, but If we go back a little, we can see this attack also occurred, just for the record. Well, the good news is I've built up a lot of magic here, so I can try to compensate by moving Moldaria back, getting an attack, and saving that call protection for future reference. I've learned my lesson and plopped a champion in front of the spot where she would be attacked, so there's not much they can do to bust into Moldaria on this turn. But that doesn't mean they're not going to try. Mr. J77 using a Blood Summon, very good event card, to just get this warrior out for free and get this archer back around after being summoned by Red Talus. The carrier attacks and kills the Guardian Knight, replacing it with a carrier of its own. The warrior takes the extra damage from the wounded units, and it looks like they're going to clear out the second Guardian as well. There's very little I can do here, and you can see that my strategy is just to advance with Moldaria, retreat Vanessa, and then place this wall here. Before the attack, the idea of here is very simple. I'm going to get Moldaria in this tight sort of bottleneck to prevent things, and then I'm going to play this card you see here, Blinding Flare. And what that's going to do is make it really hard for Vanessa or Moldaria to get hit. So if we watch the attack, I take out the archer as it does more damage than the carrier, and I can be sure that I get the kill. And then I play Blinding Flare. There is a big mistake I made here, though. And let me go back a little bit. See if you can spot it. Remember, Vanessa is not going to be able to take very much damage, and as the attacks with Vanessa's ability, Red Talus's units are going to take damage. But you might have noticed something with this bottleneck. I used gates to set it up, and my opponent can just attack the gates. So that's exactly what they do. They completely ignore Vanessa for the most part. Play a Hellforged weapon just for the heck of it, so they can try to get some damage on Vanessa while clearing out this guy themselves, which they successfully do. This was actually the worst luck, as I think they wanted this carrier to die to boost the warrior. But nevertheless, they get some damage on this gate, and they get some damage on this gate, and my Blinding Flare is run out, and it's not looking very good for me. I play this gate to try to get some zoning. The Ember Mage attacks from the back. Vanessa attacks this carrier, hopes for a one-hit kill and gets it. That was good luck. And I'm clearly still controlling space, but I'm not doing great in terms of the war of attrition with health, especially because my opponent still has both of their sacrificial peers in store. Now they just go to town on the champion, attacking the archer to Vanessa, surprisingly. I would think they would attack the Ember Mage to avoid the repulse damage, and then attacking with the carrier to try to get the kill. That was what they were going for. They were trying to shut down Vanessa being able to attack next turn. I used Spirit of the Phoenix and summoned my second champion, advancing with Moldaria with a clear plan to eliminate this carrier and then call to protection the Ember Mage back in the way. Holius takes down the Hellforged carrier, and the Ember Mage is going to finish off this archer here before teleporting back in to safety. Now, you may notice there's a clear mistake here as well, although I'm not sure if there was any better option I could have done given the circumstances. I thought that I was safe with this Ember Mage because of its ability, Guarded. The first time this unit is attacked on the turn, do not add more than 1 damage to it for that attack. However, I'm fighting the Fallen Kingdom, and we've already seen some of their shenanigans take place. Oh yeah, I played Divine Retribution as well. And there it is. We see a cultist, we see a sacrificial peer, which turned out to be pretty irrelevant. And we see an attack using the cultists, using the Spirit of the Phoenixes. Yeah, that's, you know, that mistake I made, that play I made way back when? where I decided to play this Divine Retribution. Let's pause for a second and read this. After this unit or a friendly unit within 3 spaces is attacked by an enemy unit, add 1 damage to that enemy. Very interesting. Now let's remember that I also played a Spirit of the Phoenix on the previous turn, and that this card would last me until the beginning of my next turn, which I did specifically to boost this Divine Retribution. Now, every time a unit or a friendly unit within 3 spaces of my summoner is attacked by an enemy unit, it will add 2 damage to that enemy. I thought this was great. I thought it forced my opponent to attack my units and take more damage in return. But they used that to intentionally kill off their cultist, use that immolate to finish off the Ember Mage after attacking with the cultist, and finally use the archer in its place to take down Maldaria. Let's see that plan in action right here. There's the immolate, and here's the blow. 2 damage to Maldaria. Divine Protection does work there. And just for the heck of it, they give a huge whack on my summoner. And now, yours truly does not learn his lesson. Plays Spirit of the Phoenix to boost this Guardian here. Attacks, shoves it away, does get that to die, does attack with Holius. Do I get the kill? Not at all. And I make the exact same mistake again. Divine Retribution, which allows them to kill off their own units with some Sacrificial Pure combos. Thought I was fine. Holius has 6 health. That's a lot of health. But, well, it's a dangerous game that I'm playing. So they go attack, attack, an archer here. So it turns out that it didn't happen on that turn, as I thought it would. But they did do massive damage to my walls, completely weakening my positioning here. Now at this point I know that the odds are looking pretty bad for me. But I am still somehow winning the economy game because they've burned so much attacking my own units and taking so much damage from that Divine Retribution Spirit of the Phoenix combo. So at this point I'm playing for the economy win. And that's the mistake. That's what I thought. I had made the mistake 3 times and I got called out on it twice. Instead of bringing the Ember Beast back to protect myself, I brought the Ember Mage back, relying on that ability guarded. Does it work? No. Even after all the mistakes I made, I still had a chance of winning this game just by outlasting the opponent and outdoing him on magic. But with that purge, taking out the cultist, opening up a direct line to Maldaria, summoning the archer in, there was nothing I could do. He attacks with the archer's 3 range, 2 hits, and the game is over. Pretty effective, if I may say so myself. Pretty ingenious, and a good example of how a lower tier deck, at least as we understand it now in the Fallen Kingdom, can have the tools to really mess with a high tier deck like the Phoenix Elves if they slip up. Let's take a look at the game log from Summoner Warzone for this match, and we see some interesting things. Here's my Phoenix Elves. Here's the entire here's Mr. JJ77's Fallen Kingdom. Here we see the entire history accumulating with the destruction of Queen Maldaria right at the end from the Undead Archer. We scroll back up, and we see the Fallen Kingdom just having a massive dice rolled 54, a massive inflicted wounds 41 to my 34 inflicted wounds. I don't know if this counts Spirit of the Phoenix Divine Retribution or not. But also, despite that, 12 destroyed units for the Phoenix Elves compared to 5 for the Fallen Kingdom. Now, does that mean that 12 of my units were destroyed, or that I destroyed 12 units? Or does it mean that 12 Fallen Kingdom units in general were destroyed, whether or not the Phoenix Elves did that destruction or the Fallen Kingdom did that destruction with their purges or their, intentionally running their guys into a Divine Retribution Spirit of the Phoenix combo and getting their cultists dying on their turn in order to fuel Immolate and Soul Shift combos. Well, we can see 1, 2 undead units, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So by the end of turn 4, we can see that these 12 units were 12 destroyed Fallen Kingdom units. And I think that played a big part in why I seem to be doing so well economically. Even though I had less inflicted wounds, I destroyed far more units than the Fallen Kingdom destroyed of mine, because they were using those wounds to try to attack my walls instead of my units, where I pretty much ignore the Fallen Kingdom's walls. I also had the benefit of a higher hit-miss ratio at 82.9 to 75.9, though part of that could be explained with using abilities like Spirit of the Phoenix to deal guaranteed hits. Again, I'm not sure if that is included in this attack log or not. But nevertheless, some good economy moves on the Phoenix Elves. And I think that's important to remember when you're playing the Fallen Kingdom is you're probably not going to win this matchup on the strength of your economy. You have one of the worst economies of the game next to the Cave Goblins because you're, destroying your own guys for these combos. A champion like Elude Ball is never intended to be a economy play. It's always intended to be a assassination play or an aggro play or an advantage play with some sort of board positioning, or just to exist to threaten the opponent. But yeah, I think the real thing to say, if you want to learn a lesson from this game, is to respect the Hellfire Cultist, respect the Purge. You can see the Fallen Kingdom here played all 4 Hellfire Cultists and all 4 Purges. And to just not let yourself get taken down by those wombo combos. Now for the second game in the series. My Fallen Kingdom against Mr. JJ's Phoenix Elves. We have the starting setup here. Without any further ado, let's begin. The Phoenix Elves go first. We see a pretty traditional game for the first couple rounds. He uses some Ember Archer shenanigans to try to take down my guys. Gets really unlucky with that Archer hit there, but should compensate for it with a Guardian push right here. And he does. Gets the damage, gets the shove, manages to wipe out both of my starting units anyway. I immediately start self-damaging to summon the Archer that had just died, and to get some attacks up on his archers for board position, while placing a wall on the left. We see the Warrior, the Archer, doing as much as they can, getting 2 kills, keeping the power in check. And now we see Moldaria start to make moves. She had burned a lot of magic on the first turn to summon Finessa, who I think is the best champion to have at this early point in the game. And despite a really unlucky push there, doesn't even need the damage due to Spirit of the Phoenix buffing that Guardian. 2 damage on the Warrior as well from Finessa, and I continue to self-damage, summoning a Gauntlet to set up a massive Purge turn. I want to get Finessa out of there as quickly as possible, and so I do 4 damage, killing off 2 of my units, and doing a 5th damage through Immolate with my Cultist. So I'm going to gate to protect myself, fire a couple shots on Finessa. Do I get the kill right away? No, she's left at 1 health, and that Spirit of the Phoenix riposte clears out my Archer entirely. Good stroke of luck for the Phoenix Elves, although they had been getting unlucky in turns before. Now that massive turn does keep my Warrior at 4 attack, 4 health, so Moldaria is going to try to clear him out, as well as rounding on me with the beast they summoned on the right-hand side of the field. Do they get the kill on the warrior? Yes, they do. And so that 4 attack warrior is not going to be feared anymore. I am able to, they do play Divine Retribution too, and that's going to trigger for everybody, including Vanessa. But they've left themselves open to a massive blood summon turn, and I'm really proud of this one. By getting everybody in key like this, I get the kill on Vanessa. You use the divine attack, the divine retribution to kill off my carrier, boosting the warrior, learning from the tricks that were used against me last game, getting the kill on the beast with a boosted warrior, and using the second boosted warrior to do an amazing 4 out of 5 damage, 5 dice rolled, 4 hit against Maldaria. They, of course, wipe out Maldaria, as well as taking down some hits on my carrier and doing the Ember Mage here. You will notice I'm going faster in this game. That's because this is a longer game, and I think that the moves are more spaced out. It's more of a general strategic problem. There were less tactical mistakes, specifically that I made. I summon a couple guys, bring them up, try to get position. And I do whiff on that archer attack there, which I'm actually surprised that I attacked with the archer there, considering that that archer only had 2 health. My archer was liable to hit. I think that was a tactical move that I just got lucky on, a tactical mistake. They use burn to take out this carrier so they can attack the Ember Mage, and their goal is to take down this gate and start putting more pressure on Ratalis, who keeps hurting himself in order to keep the economy game strong. And I say go for it. Try to take down my gate. My goal is to take down your summoner, and I have my sacrificial pyres stored in my deck to get this health back. I just need to get them before you get to me. Oh, and here's another tactical mistake that I made. You see this archer right here? This guy, I should have moved him. I moved him bottom and then up, left and up. What I should have done was keep him on this bottom left corner. I tried to move him up to set up for soul shift shenanigans next turn, but it put him in range of any melee unit or ranged unit summoned on this spot of the gate right here. And that's exactly what we see with that Ember Mage coming down to attack the archer. I remember that being a huge tactical error. Not a huge tactical error in that it altered the scope of the game, but a huge tactical error in that it was a mistake that I really didn't need to make. In other news, the gates get cleared out, the warrior gets cleared out, and as you can see, just barely, the archer gets cleared out. It's not looking too good for me here, but I do use a sacrificial peer. I am sitting on 5 magic, 4 now that I've used the pyre. And I set up my dudes, and I'm proud of this. A purge with this cultist to do a 3 damage purge due to immolate. That also allows me to clear out this beast here, and I can put a gate up on the place the beast destroyed to keep my stronghold here. The warrior takes down that guy, and I've built up a sizable amount on my sacrificial pyre, 3 if I remember, plus whatever happens here, to heal up for the future. They do clear out my leftmost wall. I'm losing stage control, and they've set up this sort of checkerboard pattern of walls. It's going to be hard to deal with, but I do have enough for Dragos now. I do have a warrior that I can summon, and I can move my guys to free up summoning spots for the future. A lot of this is just us, standing next to each other, trading blows to the face like a slap contest. But sometimes that's how Summoner Wars is. When you're both in an aggressive position where retreating is a bad move, a lot of the times you just gotta roll the dice and see what works out. That's exactly what Mr. JJ77 is thinking here when they set up for all 3 of their units to attack Dragos, clearly trying to take out the 4 attack melee, more if I start sacrificing units. But they don't get it. I use my second sacrificial pyre, Dragos is still up with 4 health, and I bring myself all the way down to 1 health with a blood summon. And this is, I think, the turning point of the game. I get a carrier, I get a cultist, and I get a second cultist, clearing my entire hand for this 1 blood summon. My archer teleports up, and I manage to bring all of my units, trapping Maldaria in her own fortress of walls here. I didn't ever attack her walls in this game until the very, very end, just to stall, as you'll see. And it was perfect for this setup where I used her walls against her. Dragos and Fire Drake continue to just slug it out. This also means that she can't use all 3 of her attacks on Dragos, keeping him safe because she has to use some of her attacks to clear out this mess I've made, this assassination threat up in the north. Maldaria only has 2 health now, as I got lucky and all 3 of my attacks with the archer hit. And so they only get to use 1 attack on Dragos with Fire Drake, and it's not enough to kill. Plus, doing all that also forced more damage into the Sacrificial Pier, which healed my summoner, which allowed me to summon more common units, even though I'm almost out of cards. At this point, I just continue slogging away, clearing the units. I know Maldaria is out of firepower. She has 3 magic and 1 card left in her hand, 0 cards left in her deck. I was afraid that that 1 card was a champion like Holius, but it turned out not to be. It turned out to be a fire beast. I got pretty lucky there. And I was just waiting for that card to drop so I could execute the last stage of my plan. That makes it sound like I planned it. I actually just saw it right as I was going to end my turn and went, I can do this. But you'll see when that happens. For now, I'm trying to clear out all these units. Fire Drake finally goes down and becomes a zombie. The carrier takes a hit on the Ember Mage. And while we're here, let's just whack a wall, see if we can get some more magic. We don't need it. We have a warrior. We're going to get that magic at some point anyway, but hey, why not? The beast attacks the carrier, one-shots it, but that is the last card that Maldaria has. At this point, she's completely out of firepower. And you're about to see the biggest mistake Mr. JJ77 made. This right here, zooming this Ember Mage from her spot where she killed it was a cultist, I believe, or a carrier, I believe. Yeah, she killed that carrier there, and then she zooms with call protection over to safety so my warrior cannot counterattack. And this is the situation where it is impossible for Maldaria to win. I'll give you a second to figure out why. I've hinted at it. All right. Because Maldaria is out of cards both in hand and deck, this 5 magic is useless. There's no more summoning that she can do. And she only has this beast and this Ember Mage to attack with. So I can just retreat, attack the walls, and Maldaria will get killed due to the inactivity bonus that keeps people from camping. A rule in this game is that if you don't attack at least 1 enemy card a turn, you receive 1 damage on your summoner. It's so that you don't camp. It's also just like good magic, like the power of the summoning stone is so great that it has to get let out in some form. And it was a way to prevent some of the really, really campy first edition decks, like I Like Tao's Filth Mercenary Champion Wombo Combo. Here you see some of the most exciting gameplay of any Summoner Wars match. I've run away and I hit a wall a couple times. I'm taking extra time to say this because I think it's a useful strategy to know about. There's nothing Maldaria can do. Attacking her own walls will not keep her from taking damage. I do it again, retreating out of the way so this Ember Mage can't hit with range. And the last turn goes by because Mr. JJ does nothing. He just ends his turn, Maldaria takes the damage, and that's the ball game. Moving to the game log from summonerwarszone.com, we can see the stats of Mr. JJ77's Phoenix Elves versus My Fallen Kingdom. We can see 2 champions versus 1. 10 cards built to Magic versus 7. Pretty even inflicted wounds, 56 to 59. They destroyed more units, 17 to 12, but I think that's expected in a Fallen Kingdom match where the Fallen Kingdom is destroying their own units. Almost the exact same dice rolled. A really bad hit-miss ratio for the Phoenix Elves. Not a good one for me either, but even though they did roll over a lot of ranged dice, I do have to admit there was some unlucky luck with their ranged dice, especially against Regos, who survived longer than he really deserved to. You also see, if we scroll down, that there was a massive 12 turns in this game. For comparison, my other game against Mr. JJ had 7 turns, so this was almost twice as long. And this is also, I said this at the beginning, but this is also the game where Mr. JJ77 could have timed me out, but was gracious and allowed me to go to bed and wake up and not take his turn until he had to go to work. And so with that act of generosity, I thanked him kindly, and then I beat him at the game. He could have 2-0'd me. But that's sportsmanship, and that's something that I really like about this community, is just how kind everybody is to each other, and how we're all playing very competitively, but for the fun of the game, and for the spirit of camaraderie and competition and sportsmanship. All right, I think that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening, and I hope you're having a wonderful day.